What's up, guys? This is TheKephas. I am legally blind, and today we're going to talk about transportation. So I'd like to start things off by taking a flashback to a previous episode where I talked about my experience with that creepy eye doctor. You know, Captain Obvious, who was all like, "Oh, I don't know how to tell you, you're legally blind." Yeah, that guy. And the very next thing that came out of his mouth, I cannot make this up. The dude looks at me and he says, "Wow, you're never going to be able to drive, are you? That sucks." I'm serious, this guy was taking it pretty hard. Like, it felt like he was the one getting the bad news. Like, I was about ready to walk over and give him a hug, man. I'm like, dude, it's gonna be okay, you know? I mean, we can make it through this, jeez. In all seriousness, though, he had a point, and he's right. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush about it. Not being able to drive does suck. I mean, it's probably the most inconvenient thing about being legally blind. In all honesty, if I were to define what legally blind means to me, it's that I can do pretty much everything everybody else does except drive. And I should know. I've actually tried it.
Only in this country do they let blind people drive.
So living in the 21st century and not being able to drive is a real challenge. I mean, the one positive aspect out of all of this is that I don't have a car payment, so it makes balancing the old checkbook a lot easier. But that doesn't even come close to making up for all the missed opportunities, all the times I've had to turn jobs down because I didn't have a way to get to work, all the times I've had to stay home when I would have much rather been out visiting and hanging out with friends. Sometimes I wish we were still living in the days when we were all riding around on horses. Fortunately, we do have alternatives to driving, so let's take a look at some. Walking. I mean, who doesn't enjoy walking? It's slow-paced, you get to enjoy the nice weather, people are a lot more friendly, they'll wave to you as opposed to flipping you off like when you're in a car, you know? It's really convenient. And sometimes I just go for the walk just for the heck of it, you know, because walking's awesome. And besides that, you've never truly lived unless you've carried a case of water a few blocks away to your upstairs apartment, let me tell you. Unfortunately, I don't live in an inner city like LA or San Francisco, so not everything is really close. I mean, getting to some of my friends' house would take like an hour walking. Who wants to do that? I mean, I love walking and all, but besides that, how many intersections would I have to cross? I mean, I want to be honest, I don't know how to drive, I've never done it, but neither do a lot of you people who actually have license. I mean, you have no idea, you do not understand the fact that the pedestrian has the right of way. It's like Frogger out there, jeez. Did you know that an estimated 9 out of 10 people with vision problems are put off from using the bus because it's unreliable? I mean, let's face it, no bus driver enjoys his job, so he's not going to do it properly. He never tells you where you're at, so you're constantly like, is this my stop? I don't know. And you try to ask him, and he gives you this death look like, get off the bus. And, you know, so you're left with, you know, looking at the map, which I don't care how bad your vision is or how good it is. If you can read that thing, you deserve a cookie. Ultimately, the effectiveness of public transit is dependent on location. Where I live, all we have is a bus that won't leave our county, so I can't even go that far away. And as I said, distance is a factor. So you're kind of in the middle of a rock and a hard place in that situation. I realize that these may sound like petty excuses or cop-outs, but believe me when I tell you that public transportation is extremely unreliable, and it's impossible to build your life around this system. If you have to depend on public transit to get places, you're kind of screwed, at least where I live. And yeah, there are other alternatives. I mean, if I was rich, I could get a chauffeur or take a cab, you know, but I'm not, so that's not an option. I did once own a scooter, and let me tell you, that was an experience. It was like this little yellow, like, scooter thing. It had a little, you know, case in the back for me to put stuff in, all that kind of stuff. It was great. I was like 23 years old riding around on this little yellow scooter, and it was all fun until one day when I went down this huge hill, and then I never wanted to ride the scooter ever again. And I ended up selling it back. So yeah, that was not a good idea. And, you know, the last real reliable option that I have is friends and family. Luckily, I have a lot of really good friends and really good family who goes above and beyond helping me out when I need it. And it does get frustrating at times because I don't like asking for rides to places. I mean, I'll just put it this way. So you go to ask a girl out. You go to see the movies or something on Friday night, and you're like, hey, you want to go see the movies on Friday? She's like, sure. How's about 7 o'clock? And you're like, cool. And this is the part where it's socially acceptable for me to say, cool, I'll pick you up around 6:30. But I don't get to do that. Instead, I had to say, cool, can you pick me up around 6:30? Or you can just run me over if you'd like. That'd be great. Nah, it's really not that bad. Actually, it's an advantage because I get to meet chicks that don't care about that kind of stuff, which, as it turns out, are a lot better than the chicks that do care about that kind of stuff. And that's just a small glimpse into the life of the legally blind. This is TheKephas. Until next time.